The quiet town of Gualeguaychú, Argentina, was jolted awake in the early hours of December 29, 2017. The tranquility was shattered by the sound of gunshots that echoed through the night. A young life was cut short, and another was forever changed. 19-year-old Nahir Galarza was born on September 11, 1998. She grew up in a loving home, the daughter of Yamina Crow and Marcelo Galarza, a provincial police officer. From a young age, Nahir showed promise. She was an exceptional student, excelling in her studies and pursuing a law degree at the prestigious Universidad de Concepción del Uruguay. Nahir was also an athlete, playing field hockey with dedication and passion. Her beauty and charm made her popular among her peers. Nahir's childhood was marked by the typical ups and downs of growing up. Her parents were supportive but also strict, especially her father, Marcelo, whose job as a police officer influenced his approach to parenting. Nahir was often reminded of the importance of discipline and hard work, values that she embraced and which drove her to excel academically and athletically. Despite her achievements, Nahir's life was not without its struggles. Growing up with a father in the police force meant that discipline and strictness were a part of her everyday life. While she excelled academically and athletically, the pressures of maintaining her image and meeting expectations weighed heavily on her. She often felt the burden of being a role model for her younger siblings and peers. Nahir's aspirations were high. She dreamed of becoming a successful lawyer, helping those in need, and making a difference in society. Her family supported her ambitions, proud of her accomplishments, and hopeful for her future. She often spent late nights studying, determined to achieve her goals. 20-year-old Fernando Pastorizzo, born on January 3, 1997, was also a resident of Gualeguaychú. Known for his love of motorcycles and his magnetic personality, Fernando had a close-knit group of friends who admired him for his charisma and adventurous spirit. His upbringing was marked by a sense of freedom and a love for the open road. Fernando's childhood was filled with adventure. He grew up in a modest home with his parents, who worked hard to provide for their family. Fernando's father was a mechanic, and it was from him that Fernando inherited his love for motorcycles. From a young age, he would spend hours in the garage, helping his father and learning the intricacies of motorcycle mechanics. Fernando's aspirations were centered around his passion for motorcycles. He dreamed of owning a motorcycle repair shop, where he could combine his love for bikes with his technical skills. His family, though modest, supported his dreams and encouraged him to pursue his passions. Fernando often talked about his plans with his friends, envisioning a future where he could turn his passion into a thriving business. Fernando's relationship with his family was close-knit. His parents, though not affluent, worked hard to provide for him and his siblings. They instilled in him a sense of responsibility and a strong work ethic. Fernando's love for motorcycles began at a young age when his father gifted him his first bike. The thrill of riding and the freedom it provided became an integral part of his identity. Despite his outgoing nature, Fernando's life was not without its challenges. He faced difficulties in his personal life, and his relationship with Nahir became a focal point of his struggles. Their relationship, which began around 2012, was marked by highs and lows, with moments of passion interspersed with intense arguments. Nahir and Fernando's relationship started when they were both in their early teens. What began as a teenage romance soon blossomed into a deep connection. They shared moments of joy and adventure, and in 2016 they traveled together to Brazil. This trip was a testament to their bond, filled with laughter, exploration, and memories that seemed to cement their relationship. The couple often enjoyed the simple pleasures of life: bike rides along the scenic routes, cozy evenings watching movies, and late-night conversations about their dreams and aspirations. Nahir would share her ambitions of becoming a lawyer, and Fernando would talk about his plans for a motorcycle repair shop. Their bond seemed unbreakable, and they supported each other's dreams. As their relationship deepened, they faced the challenges that came with growing up. The pressures of academic success, career aspirations, and personal growth began to take their toll. Nahir's demanding schedule as a law student and athlete often left her feeling overwhelmed. Fernando's dedication to his motorcycle passion sometimes led to friction between them. They would argue about the time Fernando spent in the garage, which Nahir felt took away from their relationship. However, as time went on, the cracks in their relationship began to show. Their frequent arguments and accusations of cheating became a regular occurrence. Nahir's family claimed that she was a victim of violence at the hands of Fernando, but the court later found no evidence to support this. Nahir often confided in her friends about the difficulties she faced with Fernando, but she remained hopeful that they could work through their issues. Despite the turbulence, Nahir and Fernando's love endured. They would break up and get back together multiple times, each reunion filled with the hope that things would be different. They were drawn to each other, unable to fully let go despite the challenges they faced. Their relationship was a roller coaster of emotions, with moments of intense love followed by heated arguments. The early morning of December 29, 2017, was supposed to be like any other. But fate had different plans. In the early hours, Nahir and Fernando found themselves in the midst of an argument. Emotions ran high, and in a moment of desperation, Nahir reached for her father's service weapon, a 9mm pistol. Several days before the incident, Nahir and Fernando had a big argument just before Christmas. The tension between them was palpable. On the night of the crime, Nahir called Fernando and arranged to meet with him in the evening. She was waiting with her father's service weapon concealed. They met at Nahir's house, where they made love together. Afterward, Nahir asked Fernando to take her to her grandmother's house. They got on Fernando's motorbike, and shortly after they set off, Nahir fired the gun at him. The first shot injured Fernando, and the second shot, fired from the front, was fatal. The crime shocked the residents of Gualeguaychú, a small city famous for its carnivals. The once quiet street was now a flurry of activity, with flashing lights, police officers, and curious onlookers. Nahir, in a state of shock, struggled to process what she had done. The police arrived quickly, given her father's connections, and the investigation began almost immediately. Fernando's body was found on 515 General Paz Street, a few steps from Nahir's grandmother's house. He was lying next to his motorcycle, with a bullet wound in his chest and another in his back. On the ground, 2 9mm bullet casings were found as evidence of the crime. Nahir walked back to her house, left the service weapon on the family's refrigerator, and went to sleep. The next morning, she posted a photo of the two of them on her social media, along with a message: 5 years together, fighting, coming and going, but always with the same love. I love you forever, my angel, ever. The news of Fernando's death spread quickly through the town. The media swarmed the scene, and the public's attention was captivated by the tragic story. Nahir was arrested and charged with the aggravated homicide of Fernando Pastorizzo. The trial that followed was a dramatic and highly publicized event. During the trial, Nahir claimed to be a victim of gender violence, accusing Fernando of beating her. However, the courts found no evidence of such abuse and rejected the defense attorney's arguments that this should be considered an extenuating circumstance. One of the most compromising moments for Nahir during the trial was when she stated that she didn't call an ambulance or tell anyone what had happened, because being injured does not mean that you are going to die. It was a nearby resident who eventually raised the alarm, but Fernando died before reaching the hospital. Nahir's defense team argued that she acted out of fear, but the prosecution painted a different picture. They presented evidence that contradicted Nahir's claims of violence and argued that the relationship was stable. Throughout the trial, emotions ran high. Fernando's family sought justice for their son, while Nahir's family stood by her, claiming she acted out of fear. The courtroom was filled with tension, with every word and gesture scrutinized by the media and the public. Witnesses were called to testify, and both families provided emotional accounts of their relationships with Nahir and Fernando. The prosecution presented evidence that contradicted Nahir's claims of violence, while the defense argued for her innocence based on her emotional state and the circumstances leading up to the crime. The security cameras in the neighborhood where the shooting took place also were of no help to Nahir, as she was recorded walking home at a normal pace, not in the state of shock and confusion that she claimed to have been in after the events she described to the court. Another piece of evidence used in court was a photo she posted on Instagram the morning after of herself and the victim, with the text, "I'll love you forever, my angel." As the investigation unfolded, the evidence against Nahir began to mount. The police quickly identified inconsistencies in her story. The ballistics report confirmed that the gun used in the crime was her father's service weapon, and the trajectory of the bullets contradicted her claims of an accidental shooting. Her initial confession, where she admitted to the shooting, was a crucial piece of evidence. However, as the trial approached, she changed her story, claiming that Fernando had taken the gun from her house and that the shooting was accidental. This sudden change in her narrative raised further suspicion. During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling case. They highlighted the evidence from the security cameras, the ballistics report, and the inconsistencies in Nahir's statements. They also brought forward witnesses who testified about the tumultuous nature of Nahir and Fernando's relationship, painting a picture of a relationship fraught with conflict and jealousy. Her calm demeanor as she walked home, the social media post professing love for Fernando, and her failure to call for help, all suggested a lack of remorse. The prosecution argued that these actions were not consistent with someone who had accidentally killed their partner. Nahir's defense team faced an uphill battle. They argued that she was a victim of gender violence and that her actions were driven by fear and desperation. They presented evidence of previous altercations between Nahir and Fernando, and Nahir herself testified about the abuse she claimed to have suffered. However, the court found no substantial evidence to support these claims. The trial was highly publicized, with media coverage intensifying the scrutiny on Nahir's every move. Public opinion was divided, with some seeing her as a victim and others as a cold-blooded killer. The courtroom was filled with tension, as both families sought justice for their loved ones. After weeks of testimonies, evidence presentations, and emotional appeals, the court reached its verdict. Nahir Galarza was found guilty of the aggravated homicide of Fernando Pastorizzo and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Becoming the youngest woman to receive a life sentence in Argentina, the decision was met with mixed reactions, with Fernando's family expressing relief that justice had been served, while Nahir's family vowed to continue fighting for her innocence.